Well, for the first time on Getting Up to Speed, we're going to be talking to a BCRA Midget Lite racer. He is out of Orangevale. It's Harlee Aguilera on Getting Up to Speed with me, Ben Deathridge. This broadcast is brought to you by Meat Freaks Jerky Club. Get the best jerky the world has to offer straight to your door by visiting meatfreaksjerkyclub.com. Pick your box and plan, tell them where to ship, and receive and enjoy. Log on to meatfreaksjerky.com and use promo code SPEED. Are you looking for bookkeeping, payroll, or income tax services? Then check out the folks at For You Simple Bookkeeping. They are a licensed tax preparer throughout the entire United States. For more information, click on the link in the description. Well, on the phone with me now, our next guest, Harlee Aguilera. And Harlee, it's great to have you on here. You drive the number 3F BCRA Lite Midget for Savage Racing. Great to have you on here.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me on.
You're our first guest in this category, so this is going to be interesting. I have all sorts of questions for you. But first of all, this year, already a couple races under your belt. How's that went this season?
This season has kind of been a snowball to start off. I mean, we ended on a decently high note last year and thought that this year was going to kind of be a tail end of what last year ended to start off. And it's definitely been a slippery slope to kick off this year.
And then 2022, in a few words or in a few, how would you summarize that? How everything went last season for you guys?
It was just a dreamland all year. I mean, everything clicked. It was my first year getting in with Brian and Sam Fonseca, who run Savage Racing, and it was a gift, honestly, to have them come to me and ask me to drive for them, which is kind of a weird story on how I got in. I had a very bad wreck at Merced, and I was driving my own family car. Took a bad tumble, completely X the operation out, and next thing you know, Brian was coming to me going, "Hey, I want you to drive for me." And it was kind of one of those, wow, I wrecked a car and now I'm getting an opportunity to drive for somebody.
No doubt, like a change of fortune, like immediately. That's incredible.
Very. We had a successful season last year. I mean, it was kind of one of those deals where you're getting into a new team, you're getting into a new program, and it's kind of one of those things where you don't have high expectations at all. It's just kind of, let's see where it goes. Let's learn the car together. Let's learn each other. Let's learn how we're going to make things work. And we clicked. I mean, it was from off of race one, we clicked. I think we were second or third the first night out, and we ended up being a eighth of an inch too wide overall because we have a width rule, and we didn't take into accountability the tire roll with me in the car at low pressures. And that kind of stepped us back a little bit, which, looking at the overall finish of last year, if we didn't get disqualified that first race, we would have locked the points title up.
Well, the first thing I want to note on, you're talking about the cars and some of the specifics and schematics. BCRA Lite Midget, BCRA Midget Lites is basically the name of the series.
Yeah.
Would you categorize it more? It's just basically micro sprints. What's the official term?
The chassis that we run are actual size midgets. Okay. All the components and stuff that we run are midgets, and some people are converting midgets into midget lights by adding a J-bar for a chain tunnel to go in, and then obviously a bar across the motor plate area to where you, like in the new car that we run, Diablo, there is a kind of like a 600 style motor mount where the motor hangs with two plates and you can slide it forward and slide it back. Or there's older ones that have actual fixed plates on the front that you mount the motor stationary to.
Okay. And whereas the traditional BCRA midgets proper, they're wingless. They run on various racetracks, whether it be dirt or pavement.
Yes.
But you guys normally just run on the dirt, correct?
Yeah, we're strictly dirt. We run pretty much all the same tracks that all the dirt guys around here run. Actually fortunate enough this year, teaming up with Brian and Sam again with Savage Racing, that we're going to go back east and go to run the Mini Coda Power Eye Nationals this year. So they're midget lights. They're not talked about much, but it's a decently sized series, kind of traveling all over the U.S. I mean, Colorado runs them. I know Southwest Lightning Sprints down kind of San Diego area. You got CLS that's down more SoCal area. Then you venture up into like Washington. We go up there every year for clay cup, and they run as well, which that's a 600 track. And I mean, last year was my first year going up to clay cup, and it was humbling. That track is so small, and everything is so fast and so tight. And it's kind of like running the Tulsa Shootout or the Chili Bowl there. I mean, you make your turn into turn one, and if you haven't decided what you're doing and what moves you're making, you're going backwards.
Sure. Yeah, that place for the Pacific Northwest, it's like the theater of dreams, and it attracts a lot of teams from all over the country for that event.
Absolutely.
Of all the racetracks that you've competed in California, what are some, or what is the one that really really has taken your fancy? Like, you roll in the pits and you just have a good feeling. It just seems like every time, the tires hit the dirt and roll out of the trailer, that you guys got a shot at winning.
I mean, with our team, we kind of keep things light. I mean, we try to keep things going light, everybody having a good time. I mean, like every racing team, there's times where things get tough, but our home track is Placerville, and I'd say 8 out of 9 nights we're on the ball there. Marysville, we were fast at. We got a feature win last year at the Spooktacular. I mean, one of those, you start on the pole, you better finish on the pole type of deal. But sure. we were quick. We had very good speed, very good momentum. Yellows came out, and we just pulled back ahead. We also got a win last year at Antioch, which we just raced there this last weekend. And that track it's tricky. I mean, it separates drivers, because in one turn you've got moisture and ruts, and the other turn you've got rubber, if not anything.
Yeah, that's of all the tracks you said, there's not really one where it's like, oh my gosh, we're gonna win kind of thing. But what would you say of all the tracks? I mean, and this could be Deming, challenging tracks that you visited to.
I would say, if I had to weigh my odds on something that I know that I could come in, and if we could basically hit setup dead on, driver standpoint would probably either be Placerville, Marysville, or Merced.
Okay. Which is a lot of the tracks that you run, like you said. A lot of the tracks that you run, you're good at.
Yeah.
And then the most challenging one, Deming rank up there, or anything else?
I would have to say the most challenging track for me, and I don't understand why it's a challenging track for me, because it's such a big platform to race on, is Bakersfield.
Okay.
I have the hardest time putting together 4 turns at that track, and I don't know why. I don't know if I just have that mental driver block, or if I can't put into words what happens, but I lose the wheel pretty much at that track, and I have to kind of regroup myself all night long.
Well, you mentioned this that it's been a recent combination, so to speak, with you and Savage Racing. Prior to that, how did you get involved in racing?
So I used to race dirt bikes years ago. My dad kind of was the backing of that one. He rode dirt bikes forever, and we did BMX and stuff. And I had a nasty accident that kind of ended things out. And then just the whole financial situation of kind of growing up and the economy changing to where racing stopped completely for me for a handful of years. And my grandfather, who was my car owner for years, he came to me one day and said, "Hey, check these cars out. Let's go watch them." And we went up to Cycleland and watched a race of the Outlaw Karts. And 2 weeks later, we had an Outlaw Kart coming home from QRC, and we ran those for a handful of years. And the first couple of years, I didn't know how to drive the thing. I didn't know what setup was, how to make the car loose, how to make the car tight. We were spitballing. I mean, it was a weekend warrior having fun. And we got fortunate and got in with some people who knew how to set the cars up, and knew some people that built motors and had good motor programs, and got in with them, and things started to click, and we started to get very successful. And it was one of those deals where we didn't have a high budget. So, I mean, we couldn't go compete with all the guys with the SCP motors and all the other factory stuff, but we were at least a top 7 car every night. And then we went and ran the West Coast Triple Crown Nationals, which was the last year they ran it, which was Salem, Oregon, Cycleland Speedway, and Dixon. It was 3 tracks, 3 nights.
Okay.
And we got lucky. We were on the ball. We were just consistent. There was no winning races. We were just consistent every time we hit the track. We ended up locking that thing up and winning that at Dixon Speedway on the final night. And my grandpa came to me, and that was the end of our season. My grandpa came to me and he's like, "Hey, what do you think about going up to running micros?" And I was like, I mean, I'm just the guy behind the wrench and the guy behind the wheel. I mean, if that's something you want to do, let's do it. I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
And we stepped into running the non-wing 600s for, I think, about 5.5 years. And like anything, you change series and change cars. It's slow pace. You got to learn everything. You got to learn how to do it. I'd never worked on a 4-bar car before, but my grandpa's neighbor is John Taylor, and he came over and kind of showed me the ropes. And the first night out in the car, he came out and helped us. And I think we were third in the main event. And I think Chase Johnson was leading and somebody else was second and we were third. And it was just kind of like holy crap, this is kind of surreal deal. First night in the car and we're out of the gate swinging. And, I got tangled up with a guy in lap traffic and we ended up junking the car, but it was kind of a hiatus to be like, okay, these things are a lot easier to drive. And from there, I mean, it was just a success factor with my grandpa funding everything. And we had a bad wreck in that, and that kind of ended everything up. I mean, we launched 2 motors in one season. We were on the third. I got taken out running Dixon and stuffed it in the front stretch and absolutely folded the front end of the car. And it was kind of like, what's it going to be to regroup and keep going, or do we just kind of sell everything off and go to Midget Lights? And we ended up going to the Midget Lights. And the first season was COVID, so there wasn't really a season. It was just kind of get your feet wet type of racing. Mm-hmm. And then the second season, we hit it slightly hard, chasing the point steal. And then I think the 4th or 5th race into the season, we ended up ballparking the car at Merced, and it was like, we just can't get the monkey off our back for some reason.
Sure. I remember those Triple Crown races. Gosh, that's bringing some memories back. I remember the 2012 one. They did, let's see, Medford, Albany, and then ended at Willamette, I think.
Yeah.
And so I remember, the last one, I think, was 2013. You'd have to correct me on that one.
Yes. I think 14 or 15 was the very last year that they ran it.
Yeah.
It was one of those deals where it was like, they didn't know if they were going to do the series again or they weren't going to do the series again just because of all the other big kart races that were kind of in the premature stage of coming about.
Sure. Yeah, and Salem, Cycleland, and Dixon, for people that don't follow that side of racing, those are not close to each other at all. It's a haul.
No.
So
yeah, and the bad thing was I was the guy racing the race car and towing the trailer. So that drive from Oregon to Cycleland overnight, it just took everything out of me, and everybody was like, "Dude, you're normally really fast at cycling. What's going on?" And I was like, "I'm on 2.5 hours of sleep in 48 hours right now."
Yeah, and it's not like you're in a passenger car where you can zip down the freeway 70 miles an hour. You're towing a trailer and everything, and you got to abide by the rules. Wink, wink. Yeah. In California, and it's like 55 miles an hour the whole way down. So, that's really cool. As far as the future looking for you and everything, what is it that you like to accomplish? Is it staying in the Midget Lights, or do you want to move on to non-wing sprint cars or wing sprint cars? What would you guys like to do?
I mean, I definitely would keep maturing what's going on here. I mean, the relationship that I built with Brian and Sam it's been absolutely amazing. I mean, I look at them as family now, and they've taken me and my wife in and my kids, and it's something that where if we race Midget Lights until they finally say they're pulling the plug on it, or until I'm done driving, I mean, I'd be absolutely happy. But as every driver, I mean, you always want to take the next step, or you always want to try to get yourself to where you're able to take the next step if you want to. But I mean, in all reality, getting into a midget or getting into running specs or a 360 just here local, running like a Placerville point still, I mean, that would be a dream come true. Because as a kid growing up, going to Placerville, it was like, it'd be cool to race this track. It'd be cool to race these cars. And then the first time I got on the track, it was like, holy crap, I'm racing the track that I grew up coming to every weekend. But I mean, I've got my son, my oldest son, he's getting ready to start running the beginner box class. So it's kind of one of those deals where it's like, I'll keep hitting it hard until he shows the aggression in racing and shows the passion. And at that point, I may hang it up and just focus on him, focus on getting him what he needs and making sure that he's ready in all aspects, to where there's a possibility where he doesn't have to work a day in his life, or one of those deals where it's kids are born with steering wheels in their hands nowadays, and I mean, every dad wants their kid to be born with one, but there's a chance that it happens. And at that point, I mean, I'm at his beck and call to be like, hey, you want to race this race? Let's do it. I'll do everything I can in my power to get you there.
Sure. No, I totally get you there. Yeah, absolutely. And what's really cool, you're mentioning that you were involved in the kart scene. Orangeville, which is right next to Modesto, right? Just outside of it.
We're actually up a little ways. We're more towards like Sacramento.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. I remember staying there one time. My wife had some friends and everything lived in Orangeville and everything. And yeah, it's a lovely little town. And it's a quite enjoyable place.
Yeah, actually Prairie City is not far from where we're at, and they actually used to have a kart track when Emick was making Outlaw Karts back in the days, and they used to race Outlaw Karts out at Prairie City, which now you look at that place and you would never know that they even had anything like that out there.
Well, here's the crazy thing. The people that we were staying with said, oh, like they weren't involved in racing at all. But where they lived in that area, my wife's friend's husband was like, oh, do you go to that racetrack that's nearby here? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, which one? And then it's like, oh, it's over here. And like, I had no idea about it. This was a few years ago. And yeah, I discovered, and I think at that time they were still kind of doing something. Maybe, I don't remember. So this was 2017-ish. So you would know better than I, but like, yeah, like it was sort of like a hidden gem. Like, wow, I didn't realize this place existed.
Yeah, no, they did a speedway track out there for a while, and it was, I mean, if you wanted to get out there, like we would have motors to shake down and stuff, we could go out there and on their open practice days and get out there. But I mean, it's a loose clay track, so it was nothing banked, nothing fancy. It was something to go out there and kind of mess around with. And then I think that was kind of about the time that the whole yard cart era was getting big, where guys were grabbing Briggs and Stratton motors and strapping them on carts and doing the, hey, you want $100 buy and winner take all type of deal. So it was a lot of grudge and stuff. And
yeah,
I mean, still to this day, that's a big thing. But I think as far as the track deal out there, like I know they don't have anything now, but I think the only thing closest to us is like they do Sac Raceway, which that disappeared. They did like an inaugural one-time deal kart race out there, and we were there for that one, which that was kind of the beginning stages of me running karts, so that was a little humbling because that track is massive for an outlaw kart.
Sure, yeah, because to go to Cycle Land, it's a bit of a haul, and I assume, did you partake in any Red Bluff Outlaw racing in the wintertime?
We never made it up to Red Bluff. My grandpa had asked me a couple times if I wanted to go up there, and I was honest with him. I said, I don't think I'm ready as a driver to go up there. Dixon was our home track. We chased the point still out there, and that track for an outlaw kart was massive. I mean, you were clipping around that place, but we did start to dabble into Cycle Land once I felt a little bit more comfortable in the kart. And I wouldn't say we were super successful there just because we were kind of the new kid on the block and didn't really know much or anything going on, but we had some success there. But I have to say Dixon, when they were running the karts, I mean, that was our home place.
Yeah. I remember that they ran karts there because occasionally there'd be some drivers from that area that would, because I would go to, like they'd have Cage Cup at Cycle Land, Salem Indoor Speedway, and then there was the Topher Classic at Hawaii Motorcycle Club just outside Boise, and we'd get drivers from all over California, all over Montana, all over Idaho, all over Oregon and Washington, and yeah, that was one of the places I researched, and it just so happened there'd be some teams that would show up from that area, which was really cool, but they don't have cage karts now. It's just strictly micro sprints, right?
Yeah, Dixon, all they run now is micros, and I mean they're on the successful side. I think when we were leaving there, they were running it at minimum 40 cars per class, and I mean that was kind of the tip of the iceberg when everything was really kicking off, and the whole chassis battle was getting big. You had 10J erupting at the scene. B1 was pushing new chassis almost every year. Hyper was kind of dabbling into things, and now, I mean, I think their normal night out there is 30 to 40 non-wings. I think it's the same with the multi-class, which is the wings. And then you've got restricted, which I think they pull 20 or so, and then junior sprints, which is pulled about the same. So I think at best, they're 70 to 85 cars per night at any micro track in California now.
Yeah. Which is solid, pretty good. And it's been a breeding ground, a proving ground for so many drivers in the state of California that have went on to do some wonderful things, whether it be wing sprint cars, wingless sprint cars, midgets, you name it. Like there's some guys that, and even some guys that have did some stock car stuff. I mean, Troy Morris III is a guy that is really kind of making his name out there in the IMC modified world.
Yeah, I know people that I've kind of been close with is like Dylan Bloomfield. Sure. I mean, that kid, I watched him start out his first night in the junior sprint, and it was one of those kids where it was like he was born with the steering wheel in his hand, and now he's running 360s and 410s and getting in Streeter's midget and running with them, and he's successful. And you've got Corey Day, who came from the micro scene. That kid is just he's hell on wheels now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great, and it's great to see that the well isn't drying up. You know, like there was just a big send up, and no one has came in to replace drivers that have gotten older to move on to other things. That's a sign of success and future too.
Yeah, and it's like you go back and you race back east with a bunch of guys back there, or the guys from back east come out here and they run out here, and they're just like, "Why are you guys so fast? Like, how are you guys so fast?"
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know, until you go back there and run on their tracks, and their tracks they're big, wide, smooth table surfaces, and you come out here and it's like you can run the same track 3 weeks in a row, and you've got a different surface 4 times in one night.
Sure, absolutely.
So it's not the same, and everybody, I honestly feel like out here in California that the aggression is a little bit more than kind of back east. I feel like the back east racing atmosphere is a little more laid back than out here. It's like everybody is trying to make a name for themselves out here, and the tracks I feel are a little bit more elbow up from the top to the bottom of the state.
Yeah, I agree. As far as you guys go, as far as team news or a team page, or if you have any apparel for sale, is there a good location online that folks can go to try and follow you guys or support your race team through apparel sales?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page that Sam is absolutely amazing at keeping everybody up to date with and going live when we're on the track. If people kind of want to tune in or look back and kind of watch stuff, you can check us out on Facebook. It's Savage Racing. I think it's 3F and 17F is our page. You'll see the cars in the profile picture. And then I know we have a kind of like a custom cup deal, Savage Designs, that Sam is kind of taking aboard this year. We do have some shirts they're simple. We haven't really exploited a bunch of money into apparel. It just says Savage Racing on the front and back of them. But I think maybe soon I'm going to venture out and try to get some shirts made for us and stuff like that. I mean, I know I've got family that is always knocking, give me a shirt. And it's like, all my money's going into the racing. I'm not on the apparel side of everything yet.
Yeah. Hey, it takes money to make money sometimes. You invest in something, you got a walk-in billboard.
Exactly.
And as far as sponsors or specific, I know you've mentioned some folks, but yeah, you can mention them again, but any sponsors that you want to acknowledge and thank real fast?
Yeah, this year, I mean, we were very grateful. Red Hawk Casino and Resort actually approached us this offseason and wanted to come on board with us, and they've been a great help to us this year, and I hope that that's something that maybe kind of goes on for a couple of years, or if even next year would be nice. So Red Hawk Casino and Resort, they've been a big help to us. Kaiser Wheels came on board this year with us, and we got a screaming setup this year going on with the 3F car. Diablo Chassis and Manufacturing. I know Michael is the owner of that one, and I'm in a Diablo now, and I have to say, from running cars that I've ran, by far, I've only been in this car for 3 races. By far, this car reacts, and on driver's standpoint, it is so easy to be able to get out of the car and tell your crew guy or whoever's doing your setup on exactly what's going on with that car. MMIW, Premier Tire and Oil, they came on board this year. Again, Wade Better with Premier Tire and Oil. He's an old coworker of mine, and the dude's got a heart of gold. I mean, he's always willing to help. He watched BCRA as a kid, So he's kind of stayed with the series and kept up on everything. And then Sam and Brian Fonseca, they're my car owners, and honestly, without them, I wouldn't be where I'm at now, and being able to keep racing and doing what all of us love who've been behind the wheel at one point.
Well, awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing how things go for 2023, and hopefully they go well. And best of luck to the season for you, and really looking forward to see you post some great results.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on, and I hope this year kind of cracks off when we get one step up on that notch and lock down the title for Brian this year.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Harlee.
Thank you.